What's going on, guys? Kevin from Epic Gardening here, back with another Microgreens episode. So today I'm mixing some soil and I'm doing something new. What I'm going to do is go half and half, 50-50, between this coconut coir and some really high quality potting soil, because when you're growing micros, at least for most of them, you don't need to provide a lot of nutrition in the soil. And that's because most of the nutrition that these plants are going to be getting are coming straight out of the seed, and then you're harvesting it before the roots are really taking too much up from the soil. So my logic here is I still want to be growing in soil, but if I basically cut it with some coconut coir, this is something like $16, $17 for 2 cubic feet, whereas this will expand to something similar and it's only $10. Obviously no nutrition in there, but it will create a overall finer growing medium for these micros, which you want, because you don't want a lot of uniformity on the surface of your growing container. It's just going to make it a lot easier to plant and also harvest. And this should add a lot of water retention to the trays, which means less watering overall because there's less evaporation, which then means that I don't have to disturb effectively the canopy of the microgreens as much, because when you're watering overhead, you're going to be depressing some of the stems and some of the leaves. It's going to create sort of a ruffled surface, which means that when you come harvest time, you're not cutting everything evenly and uniformly. So this is the experiment. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing right now. So I am partially through expanding the coconut coir, and the reason why it's so cheap is because they can dehydrate it and effectively compact it to a fraction of its original size, but that means that you have to do at least some work to expand it. So this is 5 kilogram block, and it takes about 9 gallons of water to expand it to the 2 cubic feet that it's sold as in a normal bag. Alright, so the coconut coir is more or less expanded. There's still a couple dehydrated chunks in there, but what I've done is just sort of buried them in the bottom corners where the water pools to let them rehydrate a bit, and then I'll mix it all in. So next step is to add in the soil. So I have Happy Frog, I think it's called, soil, which is pretty high quality soil. Mix it in, it'll be about 50-50 since this is 2 cubic liters or 2 cubic feet, and so is the soil. And just a quick shot here of the seeds that I just got in. All these I got from Everwild Farms. I think they're out in Wisconsin. All organic, non-GMO, and really fair pricing, great shipping, really good deal. So I've got China Rose Radish, which is a extremely quick growing microgreen with bright white stems. There's a lot of radish you can get that have different colored stems for different visual appeal. I like to do the white ones just as a basic stock radish. Got some curled cress here, or watercress as it's more commonly known, red Russian kale, Genovese basil, and a red giant mustard, and then finally over here, coriander, or as most of us, at least in America, know it, cilantro. Coriander are the seeds, and cilantro are the leaves. So that's what's about to be going in, but first I need to mix in the soil. Alright, soil is mixed. Took a little bit of time to dig around in there and get it all mixed up. And I've got 4 trays here, nicely flattened, so I'll give you a little low-level view here. It's important to get them as flat as possible because, number one, you want a uniform surface, and number two, at least until I get a shallower tray, I want to try to get a tray that's about maybe 2/3 as deep as this. Harvesting right at the top of the tray makes the most sense. You can run your knife directly along the plastic edge and you get a nice uniform steady cut, which means that you're not cutting up any of the dirt, you're not ripping the roots out of the ground, which takes dirt along with them, you're not getting any debris, which all that means that effectively you don't have to wash these greens, which means they stay longer, they stay fresher longer, and you save a lot of time. So it's a double win, both for yourself and for your customers. So let's go ahead and plant some of these up. Alright, as you can see, we are all planted up. I'll go from left to right here. We've got the China Rose Radish right there. Then we have the cress, curled cress. Basil here, which is actually a pretty difficult one to seed, at least for me, because it's nearly the same color as the soil, so it's hard to tell the distribution. The cress over here looks a bit unevenly distributed, but I actually just flattened the soil a bit so those open sections in the center actually do have seeds. They're just covered a bit by soil. Interesting thing about the basil here is once you spray it, that's the next step, to mist these down to give them a little bit of moisture. Don't need to water the actual soil, because when we rehydrated the coconut coir and mixed that in, that acts as effectively watering the mixture. But you do need to top mist these to get them started germination wise. Next thing we have here is the coriander, or as most of us know it, the cilantro, which if you've never seen one of these seeds, they're actually massive. They're huge little balls. They're almost like, I would say maybe 40% the size of a pea seed, and pea seeds are absolutely massive. So just to go over the measurements here, I used 1 ounce of the curled cress, 2 ounces of the radish, that's the furthest left one, 1 ounce of the cress, 1 ounce of the basil, and 2 ounces of the cilantro. So it was a 2-1-1-2, which means that for every pound of seed I can do 8 trays of the radish and the coriander. I can do 16 trays of the cress and the basil. And I don't believe any of these seeds cost me more than $15 a pound. I believe the basil was the most expensive at $15, but I can go ahead and check for you guys, which means that based on the yields you get off of this, radish, depending on how long you grow, you can go easily a pound off of a tray. You sell a pound of those shoots for somewhere around $10 to $15, depending on your market. You're going to be getting quite the return off of the seed itself, but then of course you have the labor that you're putting in, you have the time that it takes to deliver, you have the packaging that you're putting it in, all the time that it takes to market, the soil, the trays, the watering, the labor of harvesting and planting, and the margins start to go away pretty quickly. So just because the true cost of goods sold on microgreens is relatively low does not mean that the business is all of a sudden some magical uber profitable business. It can be very profitable, but you need to put in the upfront work of developing the relationships with restaurants, chefs, and farmers markets. All of that stuff is the differentiator between what's going to make a microgreens business successful versus not. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will answer every single question. And if you want something covered in my microgreen series that maybe I didn't touch on here, or you have suggestions for videos that you'd like me to make, please let me know, because I basically live off of the feedback of you guys as far as what I need to make next. And as always, if you like the video, shoot it a like, hit a subscribe button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike, and don't hit the subscribe button. But that's all for now, guys. This is Kevin from Epic Gardening. Keep growing.